Come closer, sweet soul, and let the noise of the world fall away, like autumn leaves drifting quietly to the mossy forest floor. I see the weariness in your eyes, a fatigue that sleep cannot touch, because it lives deep in the marrow of your very bones. You have spent a lifetime feeling like a stray seed, blown by a cold wind into a garden where you simply did not fit, while others grew in neat, predictable rows. You felt your spirit reaching for a wilder sun that no one else seemed to even notice. There is a quiet ache in your chest, isn't there? A sense that you are waiting for a home you have never actually stepped inside. I want you to take a slow, deep breath with me right now, feeling the air fill your lungs like wind moving through ancient branches. Place your hand gently over your heart and feel that steady rhythm, the drumbeat of a life that was chosen before time even began. You aren't here by some cosmic accident or a mistake of geography, but because the great forest needs the specific medicine only you carry. That persistent feeling of being an outsider was never a flaw. It was your soul's way of protecting your unique essence from blending in. If you had felt at home in the shallow soil of the world, you never would have sent your roots down, deep into the eternal. The silence you hear late at night isn't emptiness, but a sacred invitation from the divine to stop trying to belong to the temporary. You have been called away from the crowded paths because your spirit requires a vastness that the tiny enclosures of modern life cannot provide. Can you feel that subtle tug in your spirit, like a hidden root finally finding a pocket of cool, life-giving water in the dark? It is a tender, persistent pulling that tells you there is more to your story than the struggle, the labels, and the lonely nights. Your life has been a long walk through a thick mist, but the sun is finally beginning to burn through the heavy, gray canopy. I am speaking to the part of you that has remained hidden, the wild and holy part that still remembers the language of the stars. You were never meant to be understood by everyone, for the rarest trees in the forest often grow in the most secluded, sacred groves. Stop apologizing for the space you take up and for the way your heart beats to a rhythm that the world finds confusing. The call is sounding now, a low and resonant vibration that hums through the earth and whispers directly to your beautiful, aching soul. It is time to stop looking for permission to exist and start listening to the one who planted you with such intentional, loving care. Look back at your childhood and remember that first moment you realized you saw the world through a lens of vibrant, shimmering color. While other children were content with the surface of things, you were always digging into the soil, looking for the hidden meanings underneath. You felt the pain of the trees and the sorrow of the clouds, carrying a sensitivity that felt more like a heavy burden than a gift. When people spoke, you heard the words they didn't say, feeling the vibrations of their hidden heartaches as if they were your own. You often retreated into silence, not because you were shy, but because your inner world was so much louder than the world outside. I want you to try a small practice press. Your thumb gently into the center of your palm and notice the physical sensation. This is the mark of your presence, a reminder that your physical body is the sacred vessel for a very ancient and wise spirit. 0. Those coincidences that have followed you, the recurring numbers, the animals that cross your path, the books that fall open, were never random. They were breadcrumbs left by the divine, gentle nudges to remind you that you are being watched over with the greatest possible affection. Remember the times you were spared from a disaster by a sudden, inexplicable feeling that told you to turn left instead of right. That was the mycelium of the Spirit, the invisible network of grace that connects all chosen souls and keeps them safe in the storm. You have always had a strange relationship with time, feeling as though you were living several lives at once in a single afternoon. The aha moment is this. Your feeling of not belonging was actually a specialized architecture designed to keep you from settling for less. If you felt comfortable in the mundane, you would never have sought the extraordinary heights that your soul was built to eventually reach. Your weirdness is the very frequency that allows the divine to find you in the crowded, noisy marketplace of modern human existence. Every time you felt rejected by a group, you were actually being redirected toward your own sacred grove, where you can truly flourish. Think of the dreams that visit you, the ones where you are flying or speaking a language that feels more real than your own. These are not fantasies, but memories of your true nature, glimpses of the light that lived in you before the world told you who to be. You have always been a bridge between the seen and the unseen, a living root that connects the heavens to the heavy, dark earth. The signs were always there, written in the stars and whispered by the wind, waiting for the moment your heart was ready to see. You are a keeper of the ancient ways, a soul who carries the embers of a sacred fire that the world tried to extinguish. Now, take a moment to place both hands on your belly and breathe into that space, acknowledging the intuition that lives deep within. This is your internal compass, the voice of the forest that will never lead you astray if you learn to trust its quiet power. There came a season when the sky turned black and the winds began to howl through the branches of your very identity. It felt as though everything you had carefully built was being stripped away, leaving you shivering and exposed in the biting winter cold. The people you trusted turned away. The doors you knocked on remained bolted, and even the heavens seemed to have gone completely silent. You felt the crushing weight of the wound of not belonging, believing that you were finally, utterly, and hopelessly alone in the world. This was your dark night, the time when the divine fire burned away the illusions you had mistaken for your true, eternal self. It is the most painful part of the transformation, like a seed being squeezed until its protective outer shell finally cracks wide open. I want you to pause and gently stroke your own arm, offering yourself the tenderness that you so desperately needed during those dark hours. You thought you were being buried, but in reality, you were being planted in the richest, most fertile soil of your entire life. The isolation wasn't a punishment from a cold universe. It was a cocoon designed to keep you safe while your wings were forming. Refraction happens best in the dark. The stars only become visible when the glare of the artificial world has been completely stripped away. During this time, you had to face the suppressed anger of the past, the parts of you that felt small, silenced, and deeply discarded. You cried out for a rescue that didn't come, not because you weren't loved, but because the strength you needed was already inside you. Self-protection dressed as wisdom had kept you in a small box, but the dark night forced you to expand beyond your wildest imagination. You learned that you could survive the storm, and in that survival, you discovered a resilience that is as strong as ancient, petrified wood. The silence of God during this period was actually the deepest form of intimacy, like a mother holding a child in absolute, wordless stillness. You had to lose your false belonging to the world so that you could finally find your true belonging to the divine spirit. Every tear you shed watered the roots of your future compassion, making you a refuge for others who will soon walk this same path. The creative suppression you felt was merely the pressure building up, turning the coal of your experiences into the diamond of your purpose. Do not regret the darkness, for it was in the shadows that you finally learned how to generate your own internal holy light. The aha moment here is profound. The void you felt wasn't an absence of love, but the space being cleared for a greater glory. Hold your heart once more and whisper, I am safe, I am seen, and I am becoming, letting the words anchor your spirit. The winter of your soul is finally passing, and though you are scarred, you are more beautiful than you have ever been before. The dawn does not crash into the world. It unfolds with a gentle, golden light that slowly touches the tips of the tallest trees. You woke up one morning and realized that the heaviness in your chest had been replaced by a quiet, steady, and shimmering peace. The things that used to break you now seem small, like pebbles at the base of a mountain that you have finally climbed. This is the awakening, the moment the butterfly metamorphosis is complete, and you begin to dry your new, fragile wings in the sun. You are starting to see the golden thread of fate that has been weaving through every disaster and every triumph of your life. It wasn't a series of random accidents, but a masterpiece of sacred alchemy, turning your leaden sorrows into the purest, most radiant gold. Try this look at a nearby object and try to see the light reflecting off its surface, noticing the beauty in the mundane details. Your perception has shifted, and you are no longer a victim of your circumstances, but a conscious co-creator with the living, breathing divine. You recognize that partial faith produces partial manifestation, and you are finally ready to give your whole heart to the path ahead. The wound of not belonging has healed into a gift of universal connection, where you feel at home in the heartbeat of everything. You no longer seek validation from those who cannot see your light, for you have found the validation of the one who made you. The sacred storm has passed, and the air is now thick with the scent of pine, ozone, and the promise of a fresh start. You are noticing hidden agreements with delay that you made out of fear, and you are gently, firmly tearing those old contracts up. Your voice sounds different now. It carries the resonance of someone who has walked through the fire and come out singing on the other side. The awakened friend within you is finally speaking, offering wise counsel to the parts of you that are still feeling a bit shaky. Take a piece of paper later and write down one thing you are leaving behind in the ashes of your old, smaller, restricted life. This simple ritual is a signal to the universe that you are ready to occupy the full, majestic height of your intended spiritual stature. You are seeing that your identity fragmentation was just the process of breaking down a mask so the true face could finally emerge. The awakening is not a destination, but a new way of walking a rhythmic, soulful stride that honors the sacredness of every single step. You are the warrior of light who fights not with a sword, but with a presence that dissolves darkness just by being truly, fully there. There is a shimmering clarity in your mind now, a sense of knowing that does not require the approval or understanding of the world. Breathe in the newness, feeling the deep living roots of your soul, drinking deeply from the well of eternal, unconditioned, and perfect love. Being chosen is not a crown of gold that sets you above others. It is a sacred root that connects you to everyone's suffering. It means you have been given a specialized emotional architecture that allows you to hold more light and more shadow than the average person. You are a keystone species in the spiritual ecosystem, a soul whose health and stability affect the well-being of the entire human forest. The chosen one is simply the person who said yes to the call of transformation when everyone else was still fast asleep in comfort. It means you carry the ancient roots of your ancestors, healing the generational trauma that they were unable to resolve in their own lifetimes. When you heal yourself, you are sending a pulse of light backward through time and forward into the lives of those not yet born. Aha! Reframe your isolation was not exile. It was a divine incubation period where you were being tempered for a very specific task. You are a wise witness, someone who can stand in the middle of a chaotic world and remain as still as an ancient mountain. Being chosen means you no longer have the luxury of being normal, for you have tasted the hidden oasis of the soul's true nature. You are tasked with being a tender revolutionary, changing the world not through force, but through the radical act of staying open and kind. The fear of being fully seen was your final hurdle, but now you realize that your visibility is actually a permission slip for others. When you stand in your truth, you create a clearing in the forest where others can finally stop running and find their own breath. I want you to place your hand on your solar plexus and feel your power, the warm, divine fire that radiates from your center. This power is not for control, but for sacred alchemy, the ability to transform the bitterness of the world into the sweetness of grace. You are a starlight and cosmos ambassador, reminding a forgetful world that we are all made of the same shimmering, eternal, divine substance. Being chosen is a responsibility to stay awake when the world gets dark, to keep the flame of hope burning in your heart. It means your life is no longer your own, but a vessel for the flow of destiny that seeks to bless everyone you encounter. Do not be afraid of the weight of this calling, for the one who chose you is the same one who sustains you. Your roots are now deep enough to handle any wind, and your branches are wide enough to provide shade for the weary and lost. This is the true meaning of your life, to be a living bridge between the brokenness of earth and the perfection of the heavenly realms. You are a soul transformer, a person who takes the sacred ashes of loss and turns them into a garden of vibrant, new life. Accept this mantle with humility and joy, for you were born for this exact hour, this exact moment, and this exact beautiful purpose. Your path forward is not a straight line, but a sacred winding path that leads you deeper into the heart of your own truth. Stop trying to see the finish line and focus instead on the gentle unfolding of the next step right in front of your feet. Establish a morning rooting ritual where you stand barefoot on the earth, feeling the eternal tides of the planet supporting your weight. Spend time in silence every day, allowing the mirror lake of your mind to become still enough to reflect the reflections of truth. When you feel paralyzing self-doubt rising, remember that a tree does not doubt its right to grow. It simply reaches for the light. I want you to try this micro-practice. Inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4, and exhale for 8, releasing all the suppressed anger. This breath of the canopy will reset your nervous system and remind your body that the sacred storm has finally moved far away. Surround yourself with soulkin, the people who recognize your light and don't ask you to dim it for their own personal comfort. The wound of not belonging is healed by finding your tribe, the other wild seeds who have also found their way to the light. Partial faith produces partial manifestation, so commit fully to your creative dreams, even if they feel too big for your current life. Trust the quiet, whispered wisdom of your intuition more than the loud, clanging opinions of the people who do not know your heart. Practice sacred discernment, knowing which doors are invitations from the divine and which are just distractions from your true, holy purpose. You are moving toward a season of great fruitfulness, where the seeds you planted in tears will finally bloom into a harvest of joy. Keep a joy journal, noting the small moments where you feel the starlight and cosmos breaking through into your everyday, physical, human life. When you encounter betrayal by those you trusted, release them into the eternal river of grace and keep your own heart soft and open. Self-protection dressed as wisdom will try to tell you to build walls, but your power lies in your gentle warrior vulnerability and openness. You are a fate weaver, and every choice you make from a place of love is a golden thread in the new world's tapestry. Walk with the majestic mountain stillness, knowing that you are unshakable because your foundation is built on the deep living roots of God. Be patient with your soul transformation, for the grandest oaks take the longest to reach their full, magnificent, and breathtaking towering height. Your path is unique, and you are the only one who can walk it with the specific grace and style you were uniquely given. The forest is cheering for you. The ancestors are breathing with you, and the divine is walking right beside you in every moment. Believe in the phoenix rebirth that is happening in your life right now, and do not look back at the sacred ashes with regret. Dear friend, as we reach the end of this heart-to-heart confession, I want you to feel the warmth of my hand on yours. You have traveled so far, through so many dark nights, and you have emerged with a heart that is still capable of loving. That is your greatest victory, not the things you achieved, but the fact that you remained kind in a world that was often cruel. You are a chosen one, not because you are perfect, but because you are awakened to the beauty of the divine duality within. The wound of not belonging was only the space where the sacred alchemy of the divine was doing its most profound and holy work. You are finally home, not in a place or a person, but in the eternal tides of the love that will never let you go. I want you to take one last deep breath, feeling the ancient tree of your life standing tall, strong, and deeply, beautifully rooted. The silent call has become a symphony of grace, and you are the soloist that the entire universe has been waiting to hear. Remember that you are never truly alone, for the great mycelium of spirit connects us all in a web of light and purpose. Your identity fragmentation is over. You are whole, you are holy, and you are exactly where you are supposed to be right now. The wound of unworthiness has been washed away by the eternal river of mercy that flows from the heart of the Creator. Go forth now with the intense soul-shaking revelation that you are a beloved child of the stars and a precious gardener of the earth. Your light is needed, your voice is essential, and your presence is a gift to everyone who is still wandering in the thick dark. I am so proud of the way you have fought for your soul, and I am so honored to call you my spiritual sibling. The butterfly metamorphosis is complete, and the sky is open, wide, and waiting for the beauty of your sacred, winding flight. Stay in the stillness and summit of your peace, and do not let the storms of the world pull you away from your center. You are a flame and shadow masterpiece, a perfect expression of the divine's infinite and creative imagination, and you are so deeply loved. The labyrinth has led you to the center, and in the center, you found the mirror lake, reflecting the truth of your own divinity. Sleep tonight with the starlight and cosmos in your dreams, knowing that you are being cradled by the very hands that made the world. If this message felt like a warm embrace for your soul, I invite you to take one simple, loving step. Today, write down one thing you love about your own resilient heart and place it somewhere you will see it every single morning.